Joe, you gotta be joking. How could you say Breath of the Wild is better than Tears of the Kingdom when it improves upon the game in every possible way?
Saying a copy-paste of Breath of the Wild with minor changes is not as good as the game that revolutionized the Zelda franchise and open-world games for years to come. Yeah, what a crazy take.
You think adding a ton of sky islands, caves, and the depths are minor changes?
Donnie, the new areas have the width of the ocean and the depth of a puddle. There are about 3 sky islands that actually have anything worthwhile on them.
Joe, it might be your dementia, but have you already forgotten that 2 of the temples are in the sky along with mini-bosses and fun puzzles?
Oh yeah, have fun completing a boring temple and fighting a lame boss just to see the same cutscene for the 5th time. I think I fell asleep watching those.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me. And lame boss Joe, every boss in Breath of the Wild was a different version of Ganon.
At least completing the dungeons in Breath of the Wild actually gave a decent reward instead of a useless sage.
I never understood why people complain about the sages. They have so many uses and don't have an hour-long timer attached to them. I especially like Yunobo, as you can take out bosses super fast with him.
You just like him because he's fat and orange like you. Plus, you can't even choose which one to use because they all use the same button.
Then turn them off. It's not complicated.
Well, another problem is that Tears of the Kingdom removed all the ancient stuff that made Breath of the Wild so unique.
I don't know, Joe, while you're playing, the game has all the ancient stuff it needs. Sure, the Guardians were great, but there is no denying the Gloom Hands are even scarier.
Donnie, the Gloom Hands are the same fight every time. The Guardians had variants and could be beaten in a variety of ways, like timing a shield parry, though I imagine you could never pull that off. And have fun not being able to buy anything in Tears of the Kingdom because it's impossible to make any money.
Sounds like you were in charge of Hyrule's economy. Have fun spending half the game climbing. I'm surprised you don't fall asleep doing that.
Climbing isn't even that bad.
Oh yeah, and what about when it rains? You can actually negate that with the new Froggy armor.
Wow, you can avoid a minor inconvenience after completing 15 quests and upgrading the armor set 6 times. Donnie, by the time you do all that, you have already explored the whole map.
Froggy set is just one of many options, Joe. In Tears of the Kingdom, you can get to the top of a mountain with Ascend, use a rocket shield, or use Zonai devices.
Donnie, that would be great if Zonai devices weren't such a pain to acquire. I've got about 100 hydrants and lights that I can't do anything with.
Getting the Zonai devices isn't that difficult, and you can just create the missing ones with auto-build anyway.
Depending on how you play, you could be missing auto-build for half the damn game. At least Breath of the Wild runes are actually fun. Wind bombing is one of the most satisfying things in video games. Lining it up and blasting yourself to new locations was invigorating every time.
The hoverbike accomplishes the same thing in a more controlled way, and wind bombs don't even work half the time.
Skill issue! And using stasis on objects and enemies was a genius new mechanic to add. I had so much fun launching objects or freezing enemies.
The runes in Breath of the Wild were decent, sure, but they don't compare to Tears of the Kingdoms. There are so many different fuse combinations and ultra hand builds to create. Trying to take out enemies in a variety of ways lets you spice up the gameplay. In Breath of the Wild, you just fight the same 3 enemies over and over again.
Spice up the gameplay? Most fuses just increase the damage and don't actually change the weapon. What fuse did you actually enjoy?
I particularly like the 8-fold Longblade. You can attach elemental items to it and get a cool elemental effect while using it. It's both aesthetically pleasing and deadly. Not to mention the new Muddle Bud. Using it on enemies and causing havoc was so entertaining.
I'd say you caused enough havoc in your presidency.
Also, fusing increases durability, plus you can actually repair your items with Rock Octoroks.
Durability was never a problem to begin with. It forces the player to be constantly changing their weapons and adapting. And I hate how fusing arrows works. Scrolling past 100 items just to find the one you want to fuse to your arrow, and then you have to open up the menu each time.
At least you have options to change up the gameplay.
Breath of the Wild changes up the gameplay by having unique challenges like Eventide Island.
To say Breath of the Wild had more unique challenges is delusional when half of the shrines were a test of strength where you just fight a stupid guardian for the 100th time, or a motion control puzzle that doesn't work.
Everyone over-exaggerates the motion controls, probably just another skill issue. And Donnie, basically every shrine in Tears of the Kingdom is just build a machine or beat these enemies without your usual items.
And it was fun every time.
Also, the DLC for Breath of the Wild was amazing. The added challenge of Master Sword Trial and Master Mode, getting a damn motorcycle.
You can make a motorcycle in Tears of the Kingdom. And playing the Master Sword Trial on Master Mode was too difficult, especially trying to kill those 2 silver Lizalfos. Having enemies regenerate health is just annoying.
Donnie, sounds like you just need to get good. Having a hard challenge is what makes the game fun, not to mention that you could upgrade the Master Sword and champion abilities.
The Master Sword definitely needed an upgrade since you can't fuse anything to it in Breath of the Wild. But it's not fair to bring up DLC since Tears of the Kingdom hasn't had one yet. Plus, Joe, you can't deny that revisiting the world and seeing how characters change was so fun. But I guess you're just jealous that Link's longer hair is just like mine now.
I didn't realize Link started wearing a toupee. And revisiting the world is a great idea in theory, except half the characters seem to have forgotten who you are. Arito in Terrytown asked if I had ever been to his shop. Asshole, I'm the one who brought you here. Not to mention they have the audacity to give you a house on the mountain nearby instead of inside the town. How pathetic.
At least the house in this game was much better. You could build the house however you wanted. That's cool and you know it.
Go play Animal Crossing if you want to design homes. Zelda is about exploration.
If Zelda is about exploration, I'm surprised you don't prefer Tears of the Kingdom considering it has way more areas. Getting to explore the pitch-black depths was both terrifying and rewarding. Having the gloom take away your hearts was such a genius way to make it more challenging.
I'll admit the depths were pretty scary and challenging, but all that it gives you are previous amiibo sets that aren't useful. It's way too big for nothing worthwhile to be in it.
Calling weapons and armor sets from previous games nothing. Joe, this is a bad take even for you. And you also get materials to upgrade your battery. You can refight the bosses and take down Yiga camps.
Donnie, are you forgetting the sense of adventure you had when first playing BOTW, completing the Great Plateau, then being able to go anywhere you want? Heck, you can even go straight to the final boss. This was one of the most unique things to ever happen in any video game I've ever played. That same feeling just isn't quite the same the second time around.
At least the final boss was something worth going to. Dark Beast Ganon is quite possibly the most boring boss in the Zelda franchise.
No one said Dark Beast Ganon was good. That's a cold take.
Tears of the Kingdom has the more difficult and exciting boss fight, and you get to do it alongside Zelda.
Wow. You get to spend 2 minutes fighting alongside Zelda. I can't be the only one who was disappointed that once again she is missing and we have to rescue her. This game had the potential to be one of the first games where Zelda gets to become a more important character, but instead she is once again pushed to the sidelines. The game is called The Legend of Zelda, for God's sake, and we still can't even play as her.
Not sure how this is a complaint since you can't play as her in Breath of the Wild either.
Let's talk about the story. I think it's obvious which one is better.
Agreed.
Breath of the Wild.
Joe, I think you need to stop sleeping through the cutscenes. Zelda essentially sacrificing herself so that she could strengthen the Master Sword and give Link a fighting chance was absolutely poetic. I nearly cried.
Sure, but it doesn't compare to Link remembering who he is and all the champions. They gave each of the champions such personality. Like how Daruk is a fun brother to Link, Rivali was jealous of Link and a rival. Urbosa was kind of like a mom to Zelda. And Mipha was Link's hot girlfriend.
Joe, she's a fish.
Doesn't change what I said. Donnie, you're just a hater. You don't appreciate the originality, difficulty, and exploration of Breath of the Wild.
Joe, you don't appreciate the limitless possibilities Fuse and Ultra Hand bring and the new locations to discover in Tears of the Kingdom.